Of all the people in the White House that I don't particularly like, or the people that have been associated with the Biden administration, Matt Miller has been probably one of the most degenerate of the degenerates, which is, that's a high bar in and of itself. I would say that Joe Biden has had a DEI campaign, or at the very least administration, and by DEI in this case, the diversity I'm referring to is just a gang of sociopaths that Joe Biden has filled his coffers with in his administration. John Kirby, and yeah, Matt Miller being one of the other main ones. Patel is also on that list, but Matt Miller is probably one of the worst people I have ever seen in my life. John Bowden is on that list, but Matt Miller is high up there. He lies with a straight face. He does it constantly in the press pool that has had to deal with him over the course of this last year as the U.S. funded, back, and gave political support to a genocide. Matt Miller has been the face of that genocide in many respects. Again, John Kirby is also on that list, but from the standpoint of the State Department, if you need somebody to go out there with dead eyes and look straight into the camera and lie straight to your face, Matt Miller is the guy for that job. And he is fantastic at lying. Ethically, morally, you would think that there would be qualms, but if they are, Matt Miller doesn't show them on his face at all. And the State Department, at the very least the press pool, gets exasperated, gets annoyed, because the State Department knows he is lying. Matt Miller knows that he is lying, and at no point does it stop Matt Miller from doing so, and the press is fully aware of it. One of the big lies that came out was Israel has a deal. And everybody knew that Israel didn't have a deal. Israel themselves came out and said, "We don't have a deal." And Matt Miller would look into the camera. When you asked the question, he would say, "Why would Israel be against their own deal?" That's the guy that Matt Miller is. So if you remember, when the ICC came out with the arrest warrant for Netanyahu and Gallant, the U.S. was completely against it. They were for it with Putin, despite the fact that Russia is not party to the Rome Statute, meaning at all. There's no doubt about it. It's not in question. There's no controversy around it. They are just not. Neither is Ukraine, for that matter. And what they ended up getting Putin for was removing kids from a war zone. So him taking kids out of a war zone ends up with him on the ICC arrest warrant. This was something that the U.S. had pushed for, and the U.S. got what you wanted. Netanyahu goes on a murder spree for the next year, ethnically cleansing, killing one human rights group after the next, coming out saying it is a genocide, it is a genocide. And of course, one of the big issues was starvation, which our own government pointed out. They were starving the local population. If you remember, they even said, "We're building a pier." Okay, why do you need to build a pier if they're not, in fact, being starved? Even if you think back a month before the election, when the U.S. came out and says, "Well, if Israel doesn't start providing food and resources in the way that they're supposed to, we are going to think twice about the weapons." Now, nobody believed that the U.S. was going to change tenor in regards to the weapons. If you haven't done it for over a year, you're not going to do it now. But the fact that they put that out there like that and use that particular item, that you need to have more trucks. I think they said 300. Even 300 was enough. But they were like, you need to have 300 trucks going in a day. It was only at 30. So meaning even we in the US, even though we wouldn't acknowledge it openly, we even changed the report, even though we wouldn't acknowledge it, we fully understood that they were starving the local population. And that's besides shooting kids in the back, killing people randomly, throwing people off of rooftops, all of these things that they were doing, many of which were detailed by the soldiers themselves. Matt Miller goes out, gives a defense for all of it. When Assad falls and he goes to Moscow in order to get away from the jihadists, the U.S. comes out and says something to the effect of, "We believe Assad should be prosecuted," meaning we believe that there should be charges put against Assad. So, of course, the press corps, dealing with this level of hypocrisy, is going to ask the State Department, "Hey, do you really think that they should go after Assad under the ICC?" When Miller gives his answer, it is so hypocritical. It's like just radical hypocrisy that the only thing they can do is laugh. They just laugh at him. Meaning, as I said, they know he's lying. He knows he's lying. In this case, the issue was the level of hypocrisy for a genocide to be committed, meaning all of these rights groups who are there on the ground see it for themselves. No dog in the hunt. It's a genocide. ICC, it's a genocide. The ICJ even comes out calling it, basically saying you need to stop what you're doing right now, and that there was reason to believe that a genocide could be committed. So all of these groups put out, you are indiscriminately killing and murdering. This is a genocide. You need to stop. Miller, however, doesn't think that. Miller doesn't believe that the ICC should have put out the arrest warrant for Netanyahu, despite the fact this has been going on for a year, and it's clear as day what is happening on the ground. And yet, when it comes to Assad, 9 days. And the press pool who sits there over and over and over again trying to get a real and legitimate answer out of Matt Miller on this one. Matt Miller is perfectly clear. Yes, the ICC should totally go after Assad, even though for the last year he's been defending a man who has been committing a genocide. Yeah, the only thing the press pool could do was laugh. Matt Miller, knowing that he's being mocked at this moment, is like, wait. You should listen to my answer. You should listen to my answer. They didn't need your answer. Your answer was a canned answer. It is so hypocritical for you to look at one situation. This is like Kirby, right? When Kirby goes and Kirby starts crying on TV about the Ukrainians and the number of them that are dying and the civilians, when you look at it over the course of the entire war, there were less civilians that were killed in the Ukraine war than was for that 1 year in the Israeli war. I mean, keep in mind, they've killed 2/3, at the very least 2/3 of the people they've been murdering are just civilians. It's indiscriminate killing of civilians. You can look at the things that they were saying. The South African warrant, or the South African case to the ICJ, makes it perfectly, ICC, I'm sorry, makes it no, it was the ICJ, makes it perfectly clear. It was like 10 of those pages was just commentary by the Israeli government itself. Matt Miller is asked about Assad. This is what Miller has to say, and listen to the reaction of the press when they ask him this question, and based on his answer.
The president said yesterday that the Assad regime, or Assad himself, should be held accountable. Will you support his application to stand in front of the ICC as a war criminal who committed crimes against humanity?
So we support the work of the ICC. I know that obviously we have disagreed with their hold on. Let me address it.
We support the work of the ICC until they do something about it.
So we have had a lot. Let me just answer the.
You hear what he said? He said you support the work of the ICC when they're doing something that you like, but you don't necessarily support it when it's something that you don't like. Yes, it's that. But let me finish. I'll replay it.
I said yesterday that the Assad regime, or Assad himself, should be held accountable. Will you support his application to stand in front of the ICC as a war criminal who committed crimes against humanity?
So we support the work of the ICC. I know that obviously we have disagreed with their hold on. Let me address it.
We support the work of the ICC until they do something about it.
So we have had a lot. Let me just answer the question. You know what, Matt? Let me answer the question, because I was addressing that before you interrupted me. We obviously have had a jurisdictional dispute with them as it relates to cases against Israel. That is a long-standing jurisdictional dispute. But that said, we have also made clear that we support broadly their work, and we have supported their work in other cases, despite our jurisdictional dispute when it comes to Israel.
The jurisdictional dispute that he's referring to is because Palestine is part of the Rome Statute. Now, what he would say is, well, Palestine is not a state. Okay, well, that doesn't really matter. The reality of it is they are part of the Rome Statute. And He just doesn't want to accept the ICC arrest warrant because it's against Israel. It's just that. Over the course of this entire year, they have done everything in their power to politically shield Israel in regards to their wrongdoing. This indiscriminate killing, oh, well, we have to talk to Israel about it. Hey, what about the kid that was shot in the back? Yeah, we saw that report, but you're going to have to ask Israel about that particular report. Over and over and over again, I have watched this for the last year with Miller and Patel do any and everything in their power to shield Israel from any guilt. When Hamas comes out and says, we're willing to accept the deal, Miller would come out and say, well, Hamas needs to accept the deal. When it's clear as day, even in Israeli-owned media, that it was Netanyahu that was doing everything in his power to prevent a deal from taking place. Miller is a fantastic sociopath. And in this case, the press pool can do nothing but laugh at him in his answer to this because they realize how deranged that answer is in the context of the way Matt Miller has acted for the entire year over something that everybody and their mama who is there, who's been paying attention to it, especially the doctors on the ground, all of them have talked about the level of devastation and the situation to which these people are in, that Israel has put these people in. And Miller, who hasn't, wouldn't know an honest word if it hit him in the face, comes out there and gives a level of such hypocrisy that they laugh at him and can't even let him get out his answer before they point out the hypocrisy of the answer. That answer is astonishing. But I expect nothing less from Miller or Patel or any of the other sociopaths in Joe Biden's administration that will come out and look at the press in the face and just lie. Lie, lie, lie. The only thing they could do at that point is mock and laugh at Matt Miller. Just outrageous. I didn't want to keep this one long. I saw this and I thought to myself, this is nonsense. You have a person who's fundamentally deranged, who have the ethics of a swamp creature. And the press pool has to deal with that person constantly. Like, I don't think you understand, unless you've been paying attention to some of the questions that Miller has been asked, some of the answers that he's been given. He is just an absurd human being, just completely ridiculous of a person. Lack of morals, lack of ethics. He seems to believe that his job is just to fundamentally lie until whatever the Biden administration tells him to tell, regardless of how deranged and outlandish it is. This answer is outlandish in the context of the things that Matt Miller has been saying in order to shield Israel of any blame and any guilt. When it came to Russia, they're all in. When it comes to Assad, they're all in. When it comes to Maduro, they're all in. When it comes to a person who has murdered indiscriminately 40 to 100,000 human beings, 2/3 of which are women and children, Miller, see no evil, hear no evil, say no evil. This has been one of the worst administrations we've ever had. This has been one of the most fundamentally dishonest administrations we have ever had. And I know they always put that at the doorstep of Trump. Yeah, Trump lies as easily as he breathes. So do they. So do they. I'm going to say like it. I'm going to say share it. And I am going to say subscribe. The press can't shame those who are shameless. Yeah, it's that. It's that. Under normal circumstances, you would think that the level of Herculean shame that these people are, you would think would encounter. It doesn't seem to faze Matt Miller. It doesn't seem to faze any of them, really. They just carry on, dead eyes, looking forward, and saying whatever comes to their mind in order to defend, in this case, Israel. It's outrageous. And yet, Miller is there for that very specific function, meaning Miller is doing his job in the way that Miller defines his job, in the way that the administration defines his job. We need somebody of low morals, low ethics, that can get out there and say whatever we want him to say. And Miller says, I'm your man for the job. And Miller goes out there every day and does that job. My mom used to say there is a hot place in hell for people like that. And God knows I hope she's right. Like it, share it, and subscribe. Have a good one, all.